YouTubers, Raven here.
Starfire.
We're back together
Yay!
again. I feel so much.
So it is Legends
Of Tomorrow.
Season 7, Episode 5. It's a mad scientist.
That's a lot of mads.
Well, it's a play on this movie called It's a Mad World.
Yeah.
But yeah. So this was the first episode where we saw Matt Ryan as his new character.
Right.
As Gwyn or Gwen? Gwyn Davis? Gwyn Davis? I'm not sure. Anyway.
All I know is that they called him Davies and he's all, is Davis? Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, we got to see him as a mad scientist.
Yes. It's an interesting take on the character.
It is.
I'm enjoying this new version of him.
When they showed us his time machine, I totally was like, isn't that like what the time machine in the movie The Time Machine looks like? I don't know if you've seen that movie, but it's like the original one was done in the 60s.
Right.
And I'm not sure if it was around that same time period the movie took place, like the 20s or whatever. But his time machine just looked like really similar to what was in the movie, kind of. I'd have to look it up.
Maybe, I'm not too sure.
I'm not sure.
It's
been a while since I've seen that.
I think it might be similar, but not the same. You know, like the design probably, is a little different.
I'll have to look it up.
I mean, the controls in the center are probably the same.
Probably.
Because, that time period is kind of, let's put everything in the center.
Right?
Everything important goes in the middle.
Basically.
But I loved this episode.
Oh yeah, no, his time machine was way different.
Dude, like being able to say that every
That's
episode.
That's what his looked like.
Oh yeah, it was a sled.
Mm-hmm.
Like being able to say that each episode, as opposed to last season.
Oh, that you've enjoyed it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, it feels so good being able to say this again.
Yeah, I mean, didn't season 6 start off good, though?
Yeah.
It started off...
Not this many episodes.
Yeah, like, it started off okay, but then...
It started off okay, but then they went way too heavy into Bayrod.
Yeah, so season 7 has been significantly better so far than season 6.
Speaking of Bayrod, I enjoyed his little flirtation with Astrus this episode.
Me too.
Oh my god.
I liked that too. That was cool.
Hey, save me some. I'm just kidding. I don't drink. Well, we got unlimited.
Yeah, and her smile, like,
right?
was cute.
It's so adorable.
And it's not like they have anybody else that they can hook up with. They only have each other.
Right.
Like,
that's not a reason to get together.
I know. But I'm just saying, if they're gonna get with somebody, it's probably gonna be with someone within the group, within the team, just because of that. Because they're on a ship, so they don't really...
It's close quarters and constantly being around each other. That can really get some emotions going.
Yeah.
The proximity and everything. But I,
like I've been saying, though, I just enjoy the whole 1925 stuff.
Right, I'm enjoying that, too.
I think it's fun.
Right.
Like, I think what I most like to see is the costumes. Because the clothing and everything of that time was just so cool and fun, and I don't know. I like to see how it changes and how similar it is and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And just the vintage aspect of it and that aesthetic of it and how it looks. I like that. So.
Right. Did anyone else freak out when the Hooverbot was talking to Zari about her lying about her feelings with Nate? I did.
I missed that. When did he say that?
When Nate was talking to her on the couch. And they decided to live in the manor.
Oh.
And then Nate walks off, and the bot is sitting there going, "You're a good liar. You can lie to him, but I've been trained. You can't lie to me." And I'm like, oh snap. Like, what's she lying
about? Because I was watching it, like, but I just didn't hear him say that.
Mm-hmm. And then she's like, no, like, I love it. And I think she says something like, no, like, I love him. Mm-hmm. And then he's like, you can't lie to me. I was like, what the is going on?
What is happening?
Like, don't
break my Nate and Zari heart again.
Right. Like, we almost lost them in the camping episode. Like,
please don't do it to me again, writers.
Freaking the F out. And then at the end of the episode, she's like, can we not live in the mansion?
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, good. That's what she was worried about. That's the thing she was like, okay, I'm good now. Yeah. But I freaked the F out.
Yeah, like, I can't. I can't with that.
No.
I just need my characters to be happy.
Right. And Nate deserves a happy ending.
It's okay if you put, like, obstacles in there and you, like, bring them through the ringer and you, like, have angst and you have that kind of stuff and make it realistic in terms of that. But just please, for all that is good,
like you did with
give
Ray
us a happy ending.
Nora.
Yeah.
Because that was a lot of hoops they had to jump through. She was evil.
Mm-hmm. It was just so funny too. Like we were saying, how every time they recognized Davies, like they were like, "Oh, he looks like this. He looks like a young Stein, or he looks like Ray." Or they never addressed like who he actually reminded them of.
I love that they were poking fun of that.
Yeah, which I thought was hilarious.
Right. I put forth this idea that it's because of how they lost John. They're not mentally able to handle the fact that he looks like him.
Yeah.
That he might be an ancestor of him. And so they subconsciously know that he looks like John, but all they're able to recognize because of how they feel about the way they lost John is all they're able to do is recognize that they know his face from somewhere, and the only place they would know his face is from a team. So they're like, okay, we know that you came from one of our team members, or that you produced one of our team members, but we can't place you because we have mental instabilities right now. But eventually we might.
Right.
We might be able to deal with those instabilities later.
Yeah.
I think that would be an interesting episode when they're finally able to admit that he looks like John. If they ever, I don't know, because of the way the writers handle the show, I don't know if they'd be able to put the gravity of that in there.
Yeah.
So I kind of don't want them to do it because I would want them to put that type of gravity to the situation.
Right.
Because I think Constantine deserves that. But also, like I was talking with you about how the good doctor reacted to when Sarah became truthful with him and told him about her wife. And I was like, wait, he's not, like, freaking the out? Like, they're in a time period where that's
maybe because he's also homosexual.
Right. Like, that was what I was starting to think. Like, he like, the pendant said Thomas. Did you notice that? I'm pretty sure it said Thomas.
I thought he was just, like, it was because, like, of a Catholic thing where it was, like, a saint and he was, like, praying to it or something.
I mean, is there a St. Thomas?
There might be.
I mean, it wasn't exactly a circle.
Oh, okay.
So it was more like a hexagon, octagon type design.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure which one it was because I couldn't see all the sides. But yeah, and I'm pretty sure the name on it was Thomas, and his name is not Thomas.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, you need to save your person, and you have not identified male or female, and you are okay with Sarah being married to another woman.
Yeah.
Therefore, the only reason you did not freak out is because
you are also LGBT+.
Yes. And you have a person that is also male.
Back in the 20s, that was like, it was a thing, of course,
right.
But like
that was vastly, intensely hidden.
Yeah.
Like, I was so repressed.
Right. It was like the 70s and 80s where you were really starting to see a lot more of that.
Right.
Like, people come out.
Mm-hmm.
But before that, it wasn't. It wasn't really a big deal to do that. It wasn't.
It was a huge deal.
It was a huge deal, but it wasn't really like something they did. It was more forbidden, and it was like taboo. And...
Right. It's like something you did, but you never talked about.
Right. Or they would even like act like they were straight.
Mm-hmm.
Like Rock Hudson, for instance, this classic actor. He was married to a woman for like a brief time.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like very like handsome and a very, kind of heartthrob back in the day. But he had AIDS. He died of AIDS. And, that was back in the 50s and stuff was not something that...
It wasn't prevalent.
Yeah.
It was more so you contracted it because you participated.
He died in the 80s, but like he was in movies and stuff in the 50s and 60s.
Mm-hmm.
And so, that during that time, a lot of people would just like pretend like they were, and they liked women because they didn't want to be seen that way, or they
didn't want the social stigma.
Yeah, or they didn't want to lose their career or whatever it was, So,
yeah. Or maybe like they're famous and they like had a high social standing within some sort of religious structure. They couldn't exactly come out.
Yeah, and even too like poets back in the day, like Walt Whitman was supposed to be homosexual, and
the president's wife, Eleanor.
Oh yeah, FDR.
Yeah, she was. And there's a lot of evidence saying that Lincoln was.
I guess I could see that.
So, it's been throughout history, and some of our a lot of our greatest leaders,
Right.
were,
it could have been, he could have been, like, bisexual.
Probably.
Same with Eleanor.
Yeah.
Because
Eleanor cut him out of her, like, life altogether.
Because, I think she did care about him, about FDR.
But when he got
caught, she was actually more influential in a lot of ways than he was.
And that was only because she was prodded and pushed by one of her friends.
Yeah, he definitely was like an influential president, of course. But in terms of like, she did a lot of the speeches, she did a lot of like that kind of stuff, and so she was really renowned for that.
And she was hella shy.
Yeah, and that's, like, why that quote from her where, like, nobody can make you feel inferior without your consent is so, like, powerful because she was this, like, really shy person. Yeah. And to be able to say something that wise and, like, relatable is awesome. So.
Yeah. But, yeah, so looking back through history, examining time periods that are closer and closer to the one we're dealing with within the show. It's like things weren't exactly out in the open, and everything was frowned upon. So of course he wouldn't say it, but he looked impressed that she was willing to talk about it so openly, and that she did in fact marry a woman.
Yeah.
And it almost seemed like there was a glimmer of hope in his eye.
Yeah. Like for the future.
Right.
Like he could finally be able to be free and embrace that and be with who he wanted to.
Right. That he could be himself.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, if you're not, then I won't be disappointed, but I will be let down.
But that would be one thing that they would be, like, continuing on from his previous character, because Constantine was bisexual.
Right. Constantine was bi. but this guy might be
just gay.
Just gay.
Which is fine.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's still, you know, he still would be an LGBTQ plus character.
Right. Which I wouldn't have an issue with. Like, it would be kind of interesting that, like, his ancestor was gay. So he would have to have some particular meeting with a woman eventually to...
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay. But, you know what? It could happen.
It could.
Yeah.
When they showed us Thomas Edison, I was like, that does not look like Edison.
I pictured some hefty dude.
I was like, that does not look like what Thomas Edison looked like.
No.
Although he probably was
more meat on his bones.
He probably was a lot older in the 20s because, you know, he was more around in the 1800s.
Right.
So, I mean, the age thing would probably be accurate, but just, like, in terms of, like, how he looked, I'm like, I don't know.
He didn't exactly look...
I mean, I guess.
See, he is more chunky. I mean, he's not fat. But he does have more meat on his bones. The dude looked like a twig in the show. So I was like, who the hell is that? But yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the age thing was correct.
Because he died in 1931.
Mm-hmm.
So, he died 6 years after
the episode.
Well, yeah, he died 6 years later, because that was 1925.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know... They kind of got it right, but he's a little bit more hefty, yeah.
Right.
So.
Sorry if y'all can hear that weird rack in the background. My dad has the TV turned up hella loud.
I don't know what the hell he's watching.
I think that's either that is someone banging on a damn door or someone is shooting something.
Yeah.
I can't tell the sounds from that TV no more. Mm-hmm. It all just runs together for me.
But yeah, so I was like, that doesn't look like Edison.
Right.
But I thought it was hilarious when he said Great Scott. I just laughed, and then he fell over and died.
He was like, Great Scott!
I was like,
I was like, oh hell. I can't begin.
Well, because, like, I mean, he never, like, outright mentions Thomas Edison in the movies, but Doc Brown at one point is like, what in the name of Sir Isaac H. Newton happened here? You know, because he always, like, mentions scientists, and so. Mm-hmm. And the fact that Edison, who is a scientist, would say that just made me laugh.
Right. Like, so. Yeah.
It's really hard to not talk about Back to the Future when we watch Legends because it's time travel based.
Exactly.
So, yeah. But I just got a kick out of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, who's Scott? Who are you referring to? Right. Is it just an expression? Like, what?
Exactly. I'm almost shocked that in this episode where they got the time travel to work,
mm-hmm.
no one decided to go, let's go back to the future. I mean, that was
the perfect opportunity for that.
Like,
yeah. It really was. Like when he's like, we're sending you back to the future.
Right? Like, I mean, freaking Davis could have done that.
I would have, like, died. I would have just
like... Davis, in all seriousness, could have went, let's get you guys back to the future.
Yeah, I know.
Like,
I would have just been like, oh my gosh, this is the best.
Right? Ugh. Like, they missed out on the best opportunity, like, ever.
They did. I mean, other time travel stuff has done that and said that.
Right.
But, like, it would have
maybe
just been
they will
great.
eventually.
Maybe they will.
Because they still haven't reached 21 yet.
No, they haven't.
So maybe when they refix the time machine in this era,
yeah,
they'll say it. Or maybe whatever the hell next era they end up in.
Well, we saw next week they end up in Chernobyl.
Well, that's where they just landed.
Yeah.
So when they fix the time machine this time,
yeah,
and they jump forward again,
mm-hmm.
they might say it.
I'm wondering because, Davy says that the time machine is broken, is kaput. So, like, in the Back to the Future movies, in the third movie, of course, when the DeLorean, which can't be driven because it's the 1880s, and they have to figure out another way to be able to get the car up to 88 miles per hour. Mm-hmm. I'm wondering if they're going to figure something out in Legends to where, like, if the time machine isn't working, that they can still, like, somehow get back. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, I think that would be interesting if they were able to do that.
Yeah.
Or they went that
direction.
And
we can never return Davies back to his home because he was supposed to die that night.
Mm-hmm.
So.
But Edison is dead. So that was something that was altered.
Yeah, but then they put the robot Edison in there to fix with everything.
So now there's a freaking bot, Hoover bot, and an Edison bot.
Right, but the Edison bot dies in 6 years.
Yeah. True. But yeah, so I'm wondering how they're gonna get themselves out of it. Mm-hmm. Because, in the third movie, like, they're trying to get the car started and then it blows the fuel injection manifold.
Yeah.
And it'll take them like a month to rebuild it. Mm-hmm. And they don't have gasoline in that time period because, automobiles haven't been invented yet.
Right. So they end up having to use the train.
Yeah. And so, in the 20s, they would have a car, of course, but like, or in the 80s, of course, they would. But it would be so funny if, because it's the 80s, they actually use a DeLorean.
If they went and found a DeLorean and then souped that mother trucker up, how would they all fit? It'd be like a damn clown car.
I know, right? It's so small. Like, the only cool thing about it is that it looks like a futuristic, like, vehicle.
Right.
It looks like a time machine. Mm-hmm. I mean, the car itself wasn't that great. Yeah. And it was a stick shift. Ugh. But the way that it looks makes it look like this futuristic vehicle that could be used as a time machine. And it has the wing doors, and it's like silver, and it's like just the way it looks is so, And I don't know how all of them would fit in there, honestly. I think it's only like 4 people that can fit in that car.
Yeah.
And I mean, in the movies, it's mainly just Marty and Doc in the car. And like Jennifer is sitting on his lap because the back has like the flux capacitor and has all of this stuff that like powers the time machine part of it. And so there's like not really any way for you to sit in the back. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know how that would work, but it would be cool if they showed one.
Right.
So.
Who do you think, like, they're walking down the road and they see a DeLorean? Mm-hmm. Who do you think would come up with the idea?
Oh, I think, like, Nate or, like...
I mean, Nate did pull the con.
Yeah, I think Nate... I mean, if Ray was still on the show, he definitely would have been the one to do it. But I think, since he's not, probably Ray. Or maybe Gary, too.
Probably Nate, yeah.
Like, Bayrod might, too.
Maybe.
But, yeah, I think...
You never really know where Bayrod's at.
Yeah, I think Nate would. He's kind of, aside from Ray, I think he's also kind of the pop culture nerd one who's, like, into that stuff.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
He'd be, like, really excited about it.
Most definitely.
So. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying that they will do that, but it would be really cool because it's the 80s and they totally would have the opportunity to do that.
Right. I mean, how widespread was the DeLorean? Would it be in Chernobyl?
I mean, they only really made it for, like, a few years.
So would it have left the U.S.?
Oh, yeah, I think so. But they just, the year that it would have been probably, like, 82, 83. Because, 84 or something, because... In the movies, I think they used, like, an 83 DeLorean or something.
Oh, okay.
Because they only made, like, a certain number of them.
Why? Because they suck?
I read about it. It was... Yeah. I mean, it's just become iconic because of the movies now.
Right.
If it wasn't for the movies, it would just be another car that didn't go over well.
Mm-hmm. That no one really cares or knows about.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's... Is there anything else you want to talk about?
Let's see. I don't know. I mean, when Ava disappeared and Gary disappeared,
I was right along Sarah, freaking the fuck out. Oh my gosh.
Like, oh my gosh.
I couldn't.
Yeah.
Straight up, I couldn't.
And then Bayrod's like, why aren't they back after he took the thing out?
Right. Yeah. Like,
oh.
What? Oh, okay. So that's probably why they stopped manufacturing, because they were named after him. And he was convicted in a
It says that, anyway, DeLorean doubled the production rate of the car, but the demand fell, which caused insolvency. No more cars were produced because John DeLorean didn't want another manufacturer to produce the car, and then it was over for the DMC-12.
So he went to prison and didn't want anyone else to make the car.
I guess so. Yeah, it's a 2-door, so it is just 2 passengers. So yeah, there's no way that they could. But yeah, with the wing doors. So yeah, it was in production just for like 3 years, 3 years. And so yeah, I mean, they did it in Belfast, Ireland. So yeah.
Okay. So it could be in the Chernobyl area. Maybe 1.
So yeah, about 9,000 units was about how many they made.
Damn. Oh, you know how they would do it? The key.
I was so worried when Gary got into New York and he had the key. I'm like, please don't lose the key. Please don't lose the key. Don't forget to lose the key. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I was so nervous.
Right, dude. When he stepped into that door, I was like, someone's gonna open that door and you get the key jammed.
I was on edge at the beginning of the episode. I'm like, please don't let him lose this key.
Right.
Or they will be stuck in New York forever.
Right.
And 1925. Yeah. Forever. So there's another Wave Rider destroyed their Wave Rider, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the Wave Rider that what's his face, the dick.
Oh yeah, freaking
man,
asshole.
Yeah. With the new.
We don't even bother to remember his name because we dislike him so much.
Yeah.
It's
so
bad.
He rewrote Gideon, but they have the main Gideon backed up in the woman. So.
Yeah.
She could probably overwrite the ship when they get back to it.
Yeah, so they only produced it from 81 to 82, and then it said shortly after they filed for bankruptcy and after total production reached about 9,000 units. So it says, despite the car having a poor reputation for poor build quality and a less than satisfying driving experience, it continues to have a strong following driven in part by the popularity of the movies. An estimated 6,500 are still on the road, so... Because people mainly get it now just because of the movies.
Right.
Because they want to have a piece of nostalgia. No, there's literally people my parents have seen a DeLorean driving on the freeway that's all decked out in Back to the Future stuff.
We're probably going to a convention.
And they drive them. And then when the State Theater has shown the movie before, there's a DeLorean that they park outside where you can take pictures.
Yeah, but I mean those are for
Yeah, but I think somebody owns it and they just park it outside there and let people take pictures by it. And the theater probably charges them a certain amount to do that. So, because because of the car shows around here and stuff, people do own them.
Right.
So they have to drive them in order to get them.
Right. But I think that's probably the only time they're driven.
Unless they just drive it around as their actual car, but I wouldn't do that.
Hell no.
I'd keep it as a collectible in my garage. I just
that's a car you can sell in the future and get big bang. I mean, you get big bang for it now, but
I would just want it to be displayed.
Yeah. If you ever come on Hard Times, that's a car you can sell and know you've got bank.
Yeah. But yeah, so it would be cool. It would be cool if they just showed one because it's the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying it would happen.
Right.
But it would be really cool if they did.
Yeah. Maybe give the key to someone besides Gary.
Yes.
Please. For my sanity.
I know,
my
right?
Heart. So
this will prove, though, this will show whether or not he can be a responsible person.
Oh, and also, Gideon and Gary are not happening.
Astra and Behrad can happen.
Yes.
But Gideon and Gary is just, no.
I'm not okay with that.
It's too weird.
She deserves better.
It's just too weird.
I can't.
It's just, Astra's been through so much, and I just would like to see her be happy.
Right.
So,
and,
I'm not saying she has to be with a guy to be happy.
No.
But I'm just saying that, it would be interesting to see where it goes.
Right.
So.
It would also be her very first relationship.
Yeah.
And I'd be interested in seeing how she deals with that.
Mm-hmm.
And I would really enjoy for them to be together.
Yeah.
But like you were saying, Gary and Gideon, no.
But the key thing that can show whether he can be responsible with something like that or not.
Yeah.
Because he did work at the Time Bureau with Ava, so.
Yes. But he also didn't. He sided with the bad guys.
Yeah,
too.
He did.
He let himself be overtaken. He tried to become more powerful and take over, and I'm like, oh no. I don't even fully understand why John took him on as an apprentice, because the dude has power fantasies that
he does.
need to be kept in check.
Yup.
It's because he's a little submissive that doesn't know what to do unless there's some dumb around telling him. And Gideon's just too.
Like I said, he's just a pansexual, and he will go with anyone.
He will go with anyone that can boss him around.
Yes.
And I think Gideon's too young to fully comprehend.
I loved how when Astra was like, why can't you just make things good happen for us? And Gideon's like, who are you talking to? Hi!
I'm Gideon! Oh my gosh, I love it! Oh. I died.
It was so cute.
Yeah. And I like how Astra just knew that Spooner needed something to believe in.
Yeah.
So she picked up a rock, said some stupid little mumbo jumbo, said, "Look, it's lucky."
Said a spell.
It wasn't a real spell. She just said some mumbo jumbo, and then, here's a lucky rock.
Here you go.
Right. And then Gideon started believing in it. At the end, she's like...
And I love how when they're, holding their thumbs out, she's like...
It's like, out of all your history databanks, you can't remember what the thumb was for. Okay.
Yeah, that was funny.
It's like, she is so smart, but she doesn't grasp the little things. And I love it. It makes her seem like a child. And I don't know.
It makes her seem more human.
She seems, yeah, definitely more human. But she seems when she was a computer, she was perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Now you can see the imperfections, and she seems. It makes her seem innocent.
Yeah.
And I don't know,
childlike,
pure-hearted, and
pure. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm loving Gideon.
Me too.
I'm sad that they're not going to be split up anymore because I really loved the trio.
And I liked that. I like when we get to hear her sing because Amy Louise Penrose or whatever is so good.
Yeah.
I just like when they incorporate talent like that they already have into the show and into the character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anything else?
I don't think so.
Oh.
We have 2 more episodes until it goes on its like fall finale.
The hiatus.
Until February.
The hiatus that they are well known for.
Yeah, but next week we have Flash coming back for its 5-episode Armageddon event.
Which we all know is actually called Crossover, but...
So that starts on Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so we'll just be doing Legends and the Flash. And then when Legends goes on its hiatus, we'll just be doing the Flash. Yes. And then a special Supergirl video when you're caught up with that.
Yeah, when I'm finally able to catch up, we'll do a special Supergirl episode where you'll get my take on it. And we'll probably talk about the series as a whole.
Yeah. Just because, you know, we've been doing it since the 2nd season. And, like, it's a show that we really have enjoyed.
Yeah. For each show that we've done all the way through, we have, even if we did the last couple seasons sporadically, we've always done a recap of the entire show.
We have, yeah.
And
like, even with Supernatural.
Yeah, like we did that for Once Upon a Time and for Supernatural. And we didn't finish Arrow, so we never did that.
Yeah, and we did it with the Outpost and Winona.
Yeah. So... we're going to keep that going with Supergirl.
Yeah. We've had 3 shows end this year.
I know.
Winona, The Outpost, and now Supergirl. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
How much has ended, you know?
Right. So now we'll just have the Flash and the Legends until they end, and we'll probably end up discussing things as that winds down. So yeah.
I mean, yeah, we might still sometimes do live streams if they work out, but
yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know. There's not enough of you that seem interested anymore. So.
Yeah. Our Outpost reviews got so many views on them.
Yeah.
Like, they were really popular.
Well, it was a really popular show.
So,
somehow.
I don't know if we get as many views on our other shows, but...
I haven't been paying attention.
We do on the Outpost.
Yeah.
So.
Because not many people talked about the Outpost. So, people who wanted to watch stuff.
Yeah, and Winona, I think we did too.
Just because Winona is so popular.
Yeah. I mean, if we find other shows we want to do, we might do that. It just depends.
Yeah. If not, then these 2 shows might be the final 2 that we ever do.
Yeah. Because, I mean, you know, there's a lot of good Marvel superhero things coming out, too.
Yes.
So.
Yes, there are.
She-Hulk and Hawkeye premieres on the 24th of this month.
I'm not a fan of him, so.
And...
anyways. I guess.
Until next time, always stay true to who you are.